In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emmanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today, we're going to explore the transformative intersection of technology, authenticity, storytelling, and a guest today is Ben Albert. He's a seasoned marketer and podcast host known for insightful approaches to authentic marketing and human connection. With a wealth of experience, Ben has a unique perspective on how businesses can leverage conversation and maybe AI, maybe not AI, to enhance marketing strategies and maintaining genuine human connections with audience, prospects, and clients. Join us today as we dive into a conversation that promises to illuminate the ever-evolving field of marketing and maybe even bring back some of the fundamentals of marketing. Ben, welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be here. I don't plan on dying anytime soon, so I want to evolve. I want to adapt. I want to learn, and that's why podcasts like this kick butt. So let's have some fun.
All right. Well, that sounds great. I love a lot of the stuff that you're into. You're putting together a group of humans that with similar interests. That's the first thing that really struck me when I was doing some research after our last comment. How did you end up landing here and being and having this be your focus in this time?
I don't want to spend 25 minutes. That's a long story.
All right. You better give us the abridged version then.
When COVID hit, I was a sales executive for a marketing firm. I had just started in my role. So last one in, first one out.
Yeah.
I got let go. And in just over a year, completely replaced that sales executive income as an entrepreneur.
Beautiful.
And it's not because I'm cut from a different cloth. It was 30 years of learning, failure, skills, technology, developing skills. I had started a podcast in 2016 because I was a music lover and I wanted to get into places for free. So when I started a business podcast in 2020 during the pandemic, I already understood the tools. I already understood the purpose. I still wasn't a great podcaster, but I used podcasting and LinkedIn and Zoom and my marketing and sales experience. All these things stacked together to start making connections, start building relationships, start launching products, and build a business. So this isn't just for some entrepreneur that got let go. If you're in the C-suite, if you're a small business owner, you can do all the same stuff I'm doing. A friend of mine, Ken, who worked at the company I got let go from, long story, but he's like, one, you were the one that got away. And two, for 3 years, I was poking the C-suite saying, look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. Why aren't we doing that? We're 100 times bigger than him.
Yeah.
They're literally 1,000 times bigger than me. But
Nice.
I was doing all the stuff that he had been talking about for years. And the only difference was I was taking action when unfortunately that company wasn't.
Yeah, right.
So that's where we'll start here. It really is about taking action on the AI tools, on the opportunity, on the insights. It's not just listening to a podcast like this and then going back to your same ways.
Right.
It's actually integrating new ideas into what you're doing well.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the things I always say is let's get into it. Let's go do something, even if it's wrong. Like there has to be some forward momentum, and especially as dynamic as marketing is right now, you really have to be in a mood of trial and testing and learning and seeing if some of these things that are coming out, this avalanche that we have now, are beneficial, and there will be things that are beneficial because there's a lot of smart people working on these types of projects. Well, you mentioned when we were off camera that 2025 was the year of the podcast. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what brought you to that conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of statistics that I don't have memorized, but there's never been more podcasts out there. People don't even know what a podcast is anymore because it's YouTube.
Right.
It's no longer just this radio AM style audio only. It's an entire production on YouTube with shorts and graphics and transcripts and blogs. And there's data out there that says podcasting is the number one most trusted media source as of today, being in the fact that it's long form, there's nuances, there's conversation. AI is kick butt. For example, if I wanted to record something, maybe a onboarding process, and I wanted to send it to my Japanese clients, I can use AI to translate it into Japanese.
Yes.
But we're not doing that on a 90-minute podcast episode, on a 25-minute podcast episode. It's an authentic conversation with real people. The tools can help it get to more people, but nothing's going to replace that real life conversation. And no matter where you are on the political landscape, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were on a podcast tour prior to the election.
Yep.
Why? Because even the people at that level recognize that this is an important source of medium, possibly even more important than the traditional journalism like TV.
Yeah, and I think there's a few things. I mean, my agency is very focused on content marketing, right? That's what we've kind of landed in the landscape, and it's the foundation of modern marketing, I believe. And the challenge is always getting CEO or manager or founder approved content. And so if the CEO is on podcasts, even one a month, that really takes care of the approved content mandate. And as we know, you take that 20 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour, and you could almost build an entire year's worth of content marketing just from an hour, much less from a monthly podcast as a guest, right? And that's probably the simplest and the easiest place for people to get their feet wet. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, can I give you a fun little behind the scenes tactic that you can do and anyone else can do internally?
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I'm not 100% sure on is just because I'm a CEO and I came on a podcast, I might not approve that content. I might watch it back and be like, my hair is ugly. What? Did I say that? No, I didn't say that. I would never say that. Well, we got it on video.
Yeah.
What I like to do with my clients, and I recommend people do this on their team, whether or not they have someone like Emmanuel to help them with it, is I do private content interviews where you and I record a podcast. We click record, but it's not for public eye.
Yep.
And then I repurpose that content. And then I provide a transcript, this and that. But you can get on a podcast and the content creates itself. And if you're like, I'm nervous to get on a podcast, you can just set up a private content interview with your agency, with Emmanuel, with a team member, and record a podcast not for public eye. But it's still, you just mentioned it, could be a year worth of content in just an hour of your time spent. It's amazing.
That's a great point, and I love that you brought that up as maybe the step before going and being on other people's podcasts. And I was amazed. Maybe it's from my high school speech experience, but like for me, it wasn't a big deal. Like I'll get in there, I'll get on a podcast and talk about the books or what we're doing. But some of my clients have had a challenge even wanting to do the private content interviews. And we've got to step into it a little slower. So that's a great point. And I love to say if just 90 seconds, even that much, interview with a CEO about their favorite project or a staff person that's gone above and beyond, or what fundraiser they went to over the weekend is enough to just get that ball rolling, and we as marketers can take and run with that and make and build beautiful things from it. So,
Couldn't agree more.
yeah, that's cool. Well, so you've been doing a podcast since 2016.
Yeah, I started a music podcast in October of 2016.
Man,
I
that's
wanted to get into
amazing.
places for free.
Well, yeah, because then you're part of the press corps at that point, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's cool. And then, so you're a musician and you're a performer.
I wish. I'm not very good. I can pretend. I can strum a few chords. I can play
Yeah.
a beat, but it's funny how things work out the way they were meant to be, because I was always the promoter, I was always the advocate, I was always the fan. I was never the best musician,
Right.
and I didn't know what marketing was. This was like MySpace and even before major social media days. I
Yeah.
didn't know what marketing was, but since I was an advocate, it allowed me to serve well as a podcaster and as a marketer, because I'm not the superhero.
Yeah.
The
Right.
client is and the audience is.
Perfect. Yeah. Right. And I think in the bigger picture, that role is going to be becoming more and more important because of the avalanche of content that is out
Yeah.
there. We need more content curation from people who are subject matter experts, or at least very experienced, right? Because there's so much BS out there that people are just producing with AI tools, that people being able to say, this is somebody to listen to, this is a good source of information, here's some great articles, is a very important role and will continue to be important.
Yeah, it was a whole nother podcast discussion, but curation of good from the noise is going to be the next step in our. There's so much content out there.
Yeah.
There's
It's
so
mind-numbing.
much.
Yeah.
Not all of it's good.
No,
And
most of
AI
it
has
isn't.
made it easier. AI's made it so easy to put out crappy content.
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, I love these tools that are just like, oh, from one keyword, we can produce an entire whatever PDF,
Yeah.
podcast, marketing campaign. I'm just like, no, you can't. That's just it's terrible. It's a terrible
Well, and
thing
that's
to
why I
even say.
think get on podcasts. If you have a large team, get on video when you do your monthly announcements. Don't just have a phone call. Like, start using visual
Yep.
because you want to build trust.
Right.
And I can type in a keyword and create a PDF and create a podcast and create a blog. But if it's not in my voice, if it's not my stories, if it's not who I am, the moment an employee comes up to me, a client comes up to me, a partner, an investor comes up to me, they're like, wow, I read your PDF and this and that. And I didn't even read the PDF. The AI wrote it. I'm going to look silly.
For sure.
So as people start creating more, building more, scaling more, I want them to avoid looking silly, because
Yeah.
it's really easy to when AI is creating all your stuff.
That's a good point. Well, and it is what is amazing about the podcast. And I know, I'm relatively new compared to 2016, but it's been really mind blowing for me. Just the number of people that I've been able to meet, right?
Yeah.
People like you that I would never have connected with otherwise. And so I feel like I have a PhD in marketing now from doing 100 episodes, right? I mean, it's amazing. And in that respect, and then also found amazing tools for my business that I would not have found otherwise. So there's that dimension, and then just personally being able to be way more accessible in interpersonal communication, like this, and then in person at normal events also, where you're actually meeting people in the flesh. So it's a multi-dimensional asset and return on the investment to be a podcast host, I think.
Talk a little bit about, so you've done over 100 episodes now, right?
Yeah.
Where were you on day one versus now? And what were some of the biggest benefits there?
I mean, day one was just like, hey, I've guested on some podcasts, so I guess I want to do this podcast to support the book that I wrote, right? That was the entirety of my thinking. And then and so I'm like, well, like we said earlier, you got to just do it, even if it's wrong. So it was super raw, and it is kind of funny to look at, right? It's always that first one, but it'll stay up for eternity. That's fine. I think what's changed is to be able to is just the comfort, right, and being able to connect more humanly and not so intellectually, and have it be more free flowing and natural, and it was clunky and uncomfortable, and to start out with, but it gets easier, and this is what it is, right? This is who I am. It's as close as it can be on a digital platform.
Yeah. When I first started, I still keep a cheat sheet next to me sometimes, but I hardly ever use it.
Yeah.
I just was reading questions and I was nervous. I remember my very first day in sales, they would say their name like, "Hey, it's Emmanuel. How can I help you?" And I would write down the word Emmanuel.
Right.
Like I couldn't remember their name. I had to write it down because I was so nervous, and I was like taking vigorous notes and like trying to know the secretary's name and this and that and write down and I wasn't being present because I was way too caught up on trying to do things perfect.
Right. Yep.
And a great question is a great question. Not going to take that from anyone. But when I show up just willing to, I'm an expert. Let's discuss.
Yep.
I think the right things come out more than when I was over prepared and trying way too hard.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yesterday, I was interviewing this woman who wrote a great book about how to interview your customers to find out what they really want versus what you think they want. And we wrapped it up, and we're just having the after talk. And she's like, "I thought we were going to talk about AI." And I'm like, "Well, this was way more interesting to me." Like her book and what she does and how she does it was just so beautiful and juicy. I couldn't get back to the scripted questions about about the show. So I'm totally with you.
One comment on that, I know we're digressing, but it's marketing in the age of AI. Just because it's the age of AI doesn't mean everything that comes out of our mouth has to be about AI. There are marketing fundamentals, and if you don't understand the marketing fundamentals, it's actually hard to apply those fundamentals to the AI tools. And that's why the content's not good. That's why people are inauthentic. That's why everyone's putting stuff out, but not all of it's fantastic, is because they don't understand marketing fundamentals. Just because it's the age of AI doesn't mean all the stuff that's happened the prior 100 years are thrown in the trash. We want to learn our history so we can apply it to modern times.
Yeah, 100%. You got the subtlety in there, and that's what I go back to. I say duct tape simple is way better than flashy and complicated.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about what you're doing with your network? Break that out for me.
Sure. Grow getters only. Grow getters. It's go getters that are looking to grow. We can run really, really fast, but if we run really fast in the wrong direction, we spend years and lots of money and time ultimately running in the wrong direction. So I just wanted to set up a group of peer-to-peer connections where we can grow together. I founded it. Technically, I'm the fearless leader, but it's just building a community of growth-oriented business leaders, mostly entrepreneurs, business development, and marketers, where we can come, bring in guests, have peer-to-peer feedback, network, and serve as each other's board of directors. And yeah, I'm not even perfect I'm not like a king at explaining this. I just built what I wanted, and I'm humbled that I was able to build it, but it's just a great community of people doing what we do every single day. Just getting better, learning, and supporting one another.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is it mostly people from the United States, or you spread out all over? What does the membership look like?
Couple Canada. I don't think we have anyone outside of USA and Canada currently. We meet at 12 o'clock Eastern. So in some places that's like evening or overnight.
Yeah, right. No, that's
But it works great for us United Statesers to be 12
nice.
o'clock Eastern. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what I guess what sort of benefits have you seen like the members have gotten from participating in Grow Getters?
One of my favorite things, literally on our last call this week, someone said this is like business therapy. Because it's, I don't want to bore you with every single detail, but it's every Tuesday at 12. And one of the sessions is the hot seat community coaching, where someone brings a problem and we as a group serve as the board of directors to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's not a strategical or tactical problem. A lot of times it's mindset, or a lot of times it's just getting clarity on an idea or getting feedback that what you're trying to do makes sense. So it can serve as therapy and coaching. I find that as leaders, we often work in silos. So just
Yeah.
creating that space where we can connect and talk about what's actually going on has been really beneficial to me. And yeah, I mean, our success rate kicks butt. So I believe it's beneficial to everyone else in the group.
That is so you're saying it's a lot of sales and marketing people, but it's not limited to that.
I mean, wherever we are, there we are.
Yeah.
We're
All
just
right.
human beings. We're just
Yeah,
human
like
beings trying to figure stuff out.
you're like the Lao Tzu of business right now, Ben. I love it.
There you go. No, and it's true. I mean, it's true. I've made decisions in 2025 to travel more, to take more time out, and to outsource more.
Yeah.
And there's a high probability that I won't achieve a ton of revenue growth. But what about inner growth?
Yep.
So you said Lao Tzu. It's like, I don't want to be miserable and stressed just because I'm chasing the coin. It's finding a way to live well while earning well. And sometimes you need feedback from your peers saying you're overworking, you seem stressed, you seem tired, to
Yep.
let you know that you maybe need to take a break. Just how God rested on the last day. Everybody needs a
Exactly.
break eventually, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. I have a day a week and a week a month that I'm disconnected,
I
just
love
to,
that.
and then manage the rest of the days by getting up and meditating first, and then getting to work after that. So that maintains my focus on being human first and business person second. So I'm with you 100%, man.
When you take a week a month, does everything explode in front of you, or is everything all right?
I have an amazing team. I have a bomber project manager, and we've got great systems. So if I go for a month, I've been gone for as long as 10 days, and it all has hold together. So that's the systems are the important part, and good support.
So we lost my visual.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but we will power on, because that's what we do.
You can still hear me, correct?
Yeah, I got you. And
All right, we're gonna
good
power on. I'm gonna figure this out.
there. Well, let's see. 2025, you're the podcast. I'm with you. That was one of my objectives for my clients. I want to get every one of my clients at least guesting or private content interviewing. I'm glad you brought that up again and reminded me. Anything else that you want to cover on podcasting?
There's a ton we can cover. The one thing I'll say is, if you feel like you're not the best communicator, if you feel like you can develop your leadership, be able to tell your why better, really just develop more as a human being, podcasting is a pretty safe space to do that. I say it with love, but there's a lot of podcasts out there that only get 5-10 listens, and maybe they'll get to 10 million one day. But you can go on a podcast tour, guest on a lot of micro podcasts, a lot of smaller shows.
Yeah.
And when you go into that big podcast that you dreamed of, when you go into that huge investor meeting, when you get a keynote at an event because you become a person you didn't even know you could become in terms of your communication and leadership, podcasting got the reps in to prepare you for that day. So it's good for anyone, even if they're just trying to become a better communicator.
Yeah, I agree, and it does strip away some of that public communication fear that we all start with, and it does build endurance for the communication as well. I mean, I pretty regularly do 3 or 4 in a day, and in the early part of doing this, that would drain me out. I'd be done for the rest of the day. Now I can go do a podcast, go stand outside for 10 or 15 minutes, and come back and dig in again. So the endurance part is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, Ben, what's the name of your podcast? How people get in touch with you and connect?
Yes, sir. I wouldn't be here without this podcast. So I always like to say first, comment, review, thumbs up, 5 stars. Wherever you are right now, I'm stalling on purpose. Take this moment to open up a tab, hit 5 stars, hit thumb up, because creators don't always get the appreciation that I think they deserve. So if you think this podcast is valuable, let us know. You can find Real Business Connections. If you can't spell it, we have a problem. Real Business Connections, wherever you found this, or Google it. And I've got a podcast, a business, all that shabam. But show some love here and then type in Real Business Connections wherever you found this.
All right. Well, Ben, I appreciate your time. Sorry the video dropped out, but we'll.
I was flickering around. I couldn't fix it, man.
Yeah.
This is Ben in the age of AI. Technology is just not serving me right now.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, believe me. Well, I'm grateful for your time this morning, and hang out for me for a second while I close this out.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Well, I like it. I like 2025 is the year of the podcast. Make a deal with your marketing people to do private content interviews or get signed up on a service like Podmatch and find podcasts that speak to your ideal client profile so that you can speak to things that are your subject matter expertise and get comfortable developing content with podcasts. So appreciate your time. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.